everybody. Happy
Okay.
Sunday. Happy Sunday. Today, this is Karen here, your favorite virtual assistant. I don't know if you know me or not, but I am a virtual assistant and I work with mental health professionals to help them in admin work in their business and help them create a better work life balance in their life, right? So today's conversation is one that I do believe is very important, considering everybody's migrating for different countries, different regions of the world, for whatever reason. So Gail got my co-host Gail here. She gonna introduce our fabulous guest, Dr. Lulu. So go ahead, Gail, take it over and let's get this conversation started.
Hi, guys. Welcome to another Sunday Live Chat. My name is Gail. I am from the beautiful, hot island of Barbados, and I am the CEO of Envision Training Solutions, where I help leaders transform their knowledge bases into fun, interactive presentations where everybody on their team can learn and grow and earn together. Today, I am so happy to have Dr. Lulu with us. Welcome to this interesting conversation. And I know it's going to be very interesting. We're talking about immigration and what else do we have to do to really become a citizen of the new country that we've decided to call our home. Dr. Lulu, tell us a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to get right into today's conversation. So, welcome.
Hi. So I am Nigerian by birth, and I am always going to be Nigerian, even though my kids try to tell me, Mom, you're Nigerian American now. I said, No, I'm just Nigerian. So I emigrated in 91, and we're just talking about the day that I arrived in 94. It was cold, it was December, and I was in New York, and I brought one sweater because I didn't want to be cold on the plane. And let me tell you, it hit me like ice blocks. My feet were frozen within minutes. And I did the same thing today. I came to Atlanta, Georgia last week. I didn't get the memo. I didn't check the memo because I don't know. I thought because I live in Texas that I could just roll up in here with my sleeveless blouse trying to show off my Michelle Obama muscles. So that's what happens when you are an immigrant sometimes. Even if it's just a tiny little shift in your location, it might not be as big as coming from West Africa to America. Sometimes it's just coming from Texas to Atlanta, and things
Mhm,
that you don't know hit you. And just because you don't know it doesn't mean it's not going to happen to you.
mhm.
So I am a very proud immigrant from Nigeria, from the real West Coast. I represent the real West Coast, and currently I live in the Southwest of America, which is Texas. And that's I think that's a good start.
That's good. All right, thank you. That first of all, I want to say thank you for being here and just giving those nuggets and things, anything that value what people can learn, right? Because I mean, come on, people's always going to be migrating. Let's be for real, regardless of what, whether like you just mentioned, from state to state or from country to different state, right? People are always going to migrate, and I always do believe that people doesn't migrate just because, oh, I'm bored of this country. Let me go to the United States of America, right? People migrate because they have the need to migrate. Either the country is going through crisis, or they need a better way of life for themselves and for their children. That's the first thing, because it's a lot of stigma that goes around of people that are from my immigrant, quote unquote immigrant. It's a lot of stigma. People have their own idea of what it is. People think, oh, you come here to steal our jobs. So many different verbiage that goes around with the word immigrant. Let's start there. So, talking to you, Dr. Lulu, when you was young, um, I don't know what age you came. I don't know if you want to disclose that. You don't have to if you don't feel comfortable. At what were you an adolescent when you moved? When you migrated, or were you already an adult? And how did that experience play in from that age to your adulthood?
I came at actually exactly 30 years this year, I
Oh,
think. 2000. Okay, 30 years next year, December 4th. I
okay,
came from America. So I four,
okay. So you was
24.
already
So you could say I was a young adult. And
right.
looking at my children now, I have a 25-year-old, a 23-year-old, and a 19-year-old. I honestly don't know that any of them, as a parent, any of them would be able to pull it off.
Mhm.
But I did. And so we do it because we have to. I
Right.
wanted to come to America. I know one of the things you said that people, one of the reasons we move is because of better, but I also want whole space for those who move because of marriage. Some people get married
Mm-hmm.
and they move because of that. Some other people move for education, and then other people
Mm-hmm.
flee as refugees. I mean, we have to just kind
Right.
of all of the combinations of reasons why people.
Mm-hmm.
And some people are just born here because their mother came when their mother was pregnant with them in their stomach. So there are
Right.
multiple ways people come. I came at 25. I was bright-eyed. I was bushy-tailed. I wanted to come to go to school in America. You couldn't tell me anything different. So coming then, I was just beginning my life. I didn't know much. I just knew that I wanted to do this. And actually, when I look back at the bravada that I had then, sometimes I ask myself, how dare you even doubt something now, 30 years
Mm-hmm.
later, when you came here as a 25-year-old with one suitcase, you didn't know anything, you didn't know anything, you pulled it
Mm-hmm.
off. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I came,
Hmm.
I would say as an adult, because I really wanted to go to school. I wanted to get that training so badly in America because American residency programs for physicians is only 3 years. And in Nigeria is 7 years and up. So that was my
Oh,
reason
okay.
to move to America.
Okay. Okay. But yeah, like for me, I know you was already in a young adult then.
As a young adult,
But
yeah.
when I came here, I was 6. So I was very young. So
Mm,
my experience was a little different than a 24-year-old, right? Because I was depending on my mom, right? I was looking for her for
mhm,
guidance. I was looking for her for strength. And as a child, you look for your parents, but oh, she looks fine. So then I'm good, right? Because you lean on your parent. Opposed to your age, you have to kind of you on your own. Maybe you have support system, maybe you did not. Everybody's experiences is different. And I was just thinking about that today, just in this whole conversation was like for me, even now when I go back home, like I kid you not, the first time I've been to Honduras was when 2019, and it was 30 years past, right? So when I went back, it was like I was in a whole nother country. I was in a whole nother world. Like, and it's like, so they look at me like I'm not from Honduras because my accent is different. I don't talk the way they talk. I don't dress the way they dress. So the process of assimilating is always seems to be the case, right? You always have to assimilate when I go back home because, like I said, I sound different than the people that live there. So I find that to be very interesting in this conversation. That's something that I really had to kind of think about, like, oh, I didn't think about that. How to people when I go back home, I'm considered immigrantism because I don't sound, even though I was born there, but I'm
mhm,
not considered an Honduran, quote unquote, because
mhm.
I wasn't raised there. I
That's
was
that's
raised
an
in a
interesting, a very interesting point. While you were speaking, I was taking some notes. Three things came up to me. The first one is even for me now, even though I came at 24, there are some things that I do now that when I go back home, my dad says, yes,
right,
it's that Western thinking of yours. It's because
right.
you've become Westernized. You've
Mm-hmm.
now become an American. You have now
Right.
become an American. And they may say that with intentions, but it's
Mm-hmm.
othering. The truth is, it's othering. You and I know that. They say when you are in Rome, you act as Rome. So, of
Mm-hmm.
course, I'm going to embrace some American things. And what I learned is there's a difference between conforming and adapting.
Mm-hmm.
Adaptation is what I did. If I don't adapt,
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to get killed. I mean, in
Yep.
Nigeria, there was a time when we drove on the left hand side of the street. In America, they drive on the right. In UK
Right.
today, they drive on the left. So if
Mm-hmm.
I'm thinking in UK terms and I come here, I'm going to get run over the next minute because they drive on
Right.
just something as simple as that. So the
Right.
food is different. The taste of the food is
Mm-hmm.
different. The way people dress and talk and act, their accent is different. Yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
I was at a parade. Every third person was like, "Oh, I detect an accent. So where's your accent from?" And I've
Mm-hmm.
learned now to take a deep breath when people say accent because I now know that most of them just don't know any better.
Mm-hmm.
When I was a younger version of me, I'll say, "Yes, I also detect an accent
Mm-hmm.
from you," and I'll just kind of leave it at that and
Mm-hmm.
just make them about what they're saying. The other thing is just the fact that children come here, like you said, with their parents for better or not, but the problem that children of immigrants deal with, which is a real problem, is the not enoughness. And what I mean by that is they are not Nigerian enough because they are in America, and they are not American enough because they are immigrants' children. My
Mm-hmm.
youngest, my eldest son, my eldest child, excuse me, when they were still young, went to school and made a big announcement about how their mom eats chicken bones. And
Mm-hmm.
so why were people throwing away the chicken bone because their mom eating bone? And so the
Right.
child was eating the chicken bone because their mother eats chicken bones. Something as
Right.
simple as that. Everyone's like, oh my God,
Mm-hmm.
you eat chicken bone, it's gonna choke you, it's gonna kill you. We
Right.
eat that at home. And so came
Right.
back, Mom, what's the deal with this chicken bone situation? I said, dude, let me tell you, if you like the chicken bone, eat the chicken bone. And if you
Right.
don't like the chicken bone, don't eat the chicken bone. And I had to normalize that conversation that we do things differently. It doesn't make it bad, it just makes it different. And so when you go
Yeah.
back to sometimes, the chicken bone is so good. My mom says I should keep on eating it. It's not anything bad. I mean, I
Mm-hmm.
know people in China eat roaches. It's a
Right.
delicacy.
Yeah. Delicacy.
I'm
Yep.
not going to eat a roach, but I'm not going to judge you if you want to eat roaches because in my country, we eat termites. We have
Right.
termites and it's a delicacy. We eat termite cakes and it's so good. Now, if
Mm-hmm.
you eat termites, that's fine, but I eat
Mm-hmm.
termites. So just an example of how they eat locusts, they eat grasshoppers. I think grasshoppers, then they eat crickets. But it's a delicacy. They roast it over the fire. It's like y'all eat your roast marshmallows. We're like, what the fuck is marshmallows? But
Right.
you roast it just like we roast crickets. So it's
Mm-hmm.
just it's different. And as I got older, I realized we just have to make room for everyone. The biggest struggle I had when I came as a physician was the names of medications. We call ampicillin ampiclox back home. Here they call it
Mm-hmm.
amoxicillin. Something
Mm-hmm.
as simple as that. We call them Pampers. Y'all call them diapers. We call them
Mm-hmm.
napkins, in fact. We don't even call them
Mm-hmm.
Pampers. Now they call them Pampers, but when I was younger, they called them napkins. We call them nappy rash. Y'all call them diaper rashes. Now, it may not make a big difference, but when you're talking about your car, we call it boot and y'all call it trunk. We
Right.
call it torchlight and y'all call it flashlights. Now,
Yeah.
both words are valid.
Right.
So, but you can't other me, and I shouldn't other you, and I shouldn't make you less than or better than because we say it differently. So, communication now it now takes center stage. And that's the cause of war because two people are just not communicating. But if you
Yeah.
come down to the bottom and we're talking about the same thing, whether it's nappy rash or diaper rash, can we help the child feel better? that's
Yeah,
what matters.
no, that's true. No, but I mean that's a valid point because even I mentioned a post a while ago when I would just say I just learned how to say quinoa, but I always call it quinoa because my primary language is Spanish. So when I break words down, it's gonna be centered around my language, right?
Now you
My primary
can I give
language.
you flowers for that? Because I used to call it quinoa too. Now, wait, what do you
I
mean?
remember that post. I was like,
No,
Karen, what are
yeah,
you saying?
exactly. I'm like, wait, what do you mean it's Arkansas? It's obviously not Arkansas. How can you call that Arkansas? What's wrong with you? But it's Arkansas.
Right. Because in my mind, when I break some words down, it's always come from my primary language. So when I say it, it will come what people have to be corrected. Like, what do you mean by that? Then I had to Google. I literally had to. I kid you not. That day, I had to go to the supermarket and show the guy the picture because he didn't know what I was talking about. He said, "Oh, you mean quinoa?" I said, "What? That don't even make no sense." The Q
Exactly.
side,
I know the OAIA are all silent. I'm like, why are you putting this? And when I was a younger version of me, I love words. I'm a wordsmith, doctor. I love words so much. And my uncle was doing a dictation for me, and I wanted to write the word picture. And I wrote Pikchor.
hmm
And I got the word wrong. I'll never forget. That hurt me so much because I love to like pride myself in my spelling. And that was my first time learning that some words are written some ways and
yeah,
pronounced other ways. Picture.
yeah,
I'll never forget that. I said it's Pikchor because it's picture. It's like, no, it's not picture. I said, wow. Then I learned choir. It's like, wait, what are you talking about? What do you
yep.
mean
That's
that's
true.
choir. But again, just going and the way they're said and the way they but getting older, I realize it's okay for
Mm-hmm.
everyone to say it the way they say it. In fact, it's beautiful to learn that in Spain they say coche, car, and in South America they say carro for
Carro.
car.
Yep.
And it's beautiful. It's
To
two words
automobile.
mean the same
Yeah,
thing.
it's all the
Yeah.
same thing. Like automobile, and they call it automobile. It's the same. It's
See,
all the same. It's all
see.
it's all with, and it's spelled similar but different. This is
Yes.
why I say, and that's about it. To your point, people don't when it's something different. It's like they have to question it instead of just coming from a place of
Yeah.
trying to understand it. Like, what is that? Or coming from a place of curiosity, right? Oh, do you speak
Curiosity,
like
that's the key.
right?
Yes.
What does that mean? Like, how do you pronounce that? Like, at least for me, I'm very intuitive. I like to learn different things. So when I see something that's not natural or doesn't, I'm not used to, I like to come from a place of what does that mean? Like, what? How do you break that down? That's just me personally. But I have learned that everybody doesn't come from that. They come
Yeah.
from a place of judgment. Oh, that
Yes.
smells bad. That stinks.
Yes.
You
That's
can
messed up.
carry
That's messed
right.
up.
Like yeah, when I was working, at lunch, some people have different fragrance of food, right? Everybody they bring their food, they bring their food to lunch, and they smell is different based on where they cook. Lord, just don't get me started. People, oh, that smells bad. Why she bring that to
Ooh.
work for? Like,
Let me
girl, go
tell you,
Yeah,
you
I
know
remember
I'm
that
like,
conversation too,
put some
Carrie.
on your nose and go ahead with the
You
smell.
were not impressed.
you know I'm Nigerian. Like our food smells, and even to this day, I still question the smell of some of the ingredients that my grandmother. I was like, Mom, but why does it have to smell so bad? And then my mom said, Hush, child. Hush, child.
Hmm.
If it's food that is going to nourish you, it cannot be bad. These are words of wisdom. My grandmother said that. These are words of wisdom from my grandmother.
Hmm.
She said, Hush, child. If it's something that's supposed to nourish your body, then nothing is bad about it. That was the day I stopped ever, ever, ever using my
Hmm.
mouth to say something that I'm going to put in my mouth, looks bad or smells bad. She was like, if it's supposed to nourish your body, then there's nothing bad about it. Coming back to eating locusts versus eating frogs versus eating whatever it is people eat, just hold space for them and just let them.
Yeah,
The best two words
that's
I learned
true.
this year, let them. What?
That's
So
true.
powerful.
And Kat made a good point. She said people frame what's good and bad based on their own perspective. You are correct. It's not good or bad. It's just different, and which is true. People always based on their own perspective. Like if they're not used to it and never seen it before, it's according to what they feel or what they think is bad. And everybody culture's values are different, right? Like we all know, if it wasn't a melting, because America's a melting pot. I don't know if y'all people
Yeah,
want to believe it or not, but it is, right? So if we all was to migrate back to our countries, America's not going to be what it is, right? It's not gonna have. That's the beauty of being like in New York, or Gail, you're from Barbados and you're from Texas. You can find food from different regions of the world. You can find Ethiopian food, African food, Mexican food. That's the beauty. You can be able to try different foods, try different cultures. I enjoy trying different cultures,
yeah,
right? I do. I like trying different things because I want to. That's just who I am as a person. But I just think that we have to be, like you said, hold space and allow people to be who and what they are without judgment. You
yeah.
know.
I think that goes deeper for me. Holding space is a phrase that I learned this year, but I think on a deeper level, the reason why we must hold space, not just say it. We must hold space is because of the mental health crisis that no
Yes.
one is talking about that befalls a lot of us. I'll tell you a story. One day when I was still living in Virginia. I had just arrived. I had just moved into my own apartment. Something I had never done in my life. Like we call them flats, y'all call them apartments. Just something like as an example, right? But I moved into my apartment, and my mom had given me one of her outfits to wear, and I was going to church that day, and I wore that outfit, and then I walked past my mirror. I literally had to stop and do like one of these Keanu Reeves like moments because I saw my mother. Looking back
Mhm.
at me, I looked so much like my mother. And I stopped, I didn't go to church, and I just cried and cried and cried and cried for like 4 hours. In fact, I'm feeling emotional now just talking about it. I cried. I miss my mom so much. I miss my dad. I
Mhm.
miss my family. I miss them so much that one moment, you know? So imagine if I walked out the door and someone is worried about the way I look, maybe calling it, because
Mhm.
they call it your costume. It's not a costume, it's my
Right.
outfit.
Yeah.
Or they
That's what
say,
it
or
is.
somebody picked up my accent that day. I literally, if I was someone who was emotionally already charged, I don't know what could have happened that day because
Mhm.
I went to a very dark place. Loneliness is a big problem that immigrants deal with. Unfortunately, we don't have enough time to process the loneliness because we have to settle down. We have to learn the language. We have to learn the food. We have to learn the transportation system. We don't have trains in my country. I had to learn how to use the train in New York, the train
Mhm.
system, the subway, and you get lost. People I know,
Confusing.
nobody wants to stop and talk to you and ask you and answer your question. It
Yep.
is overwhelming.
She's
So I want
right.
to people, it happened to me again yesterday. I took the train for the first time, the second time here to Atlanta from where my Airbnb is. And even as a 54-year-old woman in the train, I was in the train. There were like five Black people. I was in the military. So I'm trained to do situational awareness. So right away, I knew exactly because that's my job in the military as a
Mhm.
commander. And so I knew this, da, 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 da. Right away, I knew what they were wearing, who they were, I knew who to worry about right within seconds, 6 seconds. You only have 6 seconds to do that. One of the people was a woman. I sat kind of opposite to her. And after like 2 seconds, I took a chance and asked her if this train was going downtown.
Mhm.
And I made the right decision because I'd already done my assessment. She was like, yes, you need to go to 5 points. And when you get to 5 points, find the southbound train. Is it either the green one or the blue one? When you take it, this is the red train. You can take red or gold. And when you're coming back, make sure you take the westbound train. It took me seconds. Now, I could have also asked someone else who would have granted or maybe first say
Mhm.
my accent, or focus on the fact that I was wearing LGBT colors and maybe they're homophobic. You know,
Mhm.
it could have gone south. Now let me tell you what happened. Within a minute or two other people walked into the train, the cab, and it was two white women wearing LGBT colors. So right away I knew we were going to the same place. And I
Mhm.
almost jumped out of my chair because I was like, oh my God, my people are here. So I
Mhm.
want to make a point for not all skin folk are kinfolk, and you can find family even in another race. I want to say that with
Mhm.
my full chest. In today's world where we are so full of division and wanting to point at how you are different because you're white or because you're from Barbados or because you're from the Panama, from wherever you're different. I want to say that yesterday I met two women who were white from rural Georgia who accepted me as a Black woman just as queer as they are. So I want to
Mhm.
say that there's a lot to be said about being an immigrant and being different. And even if I'm not arriving to America for the first time, that was my first time taking the train.
Mhm.
And because I said that, the woman said to me, oh my God, my wife is also her first time taking the train. And right there,
Mm.
I found someone else who we shared something in common. So I just wanted to say, look for someone that you share something in common.
Yeah.
Feel at home with that person. That's all I wanted to say. Anyway.
That's a good takeaway. That kind of answers your question, Gail, when you were just
Yeah.
asking backstage.
We could just close out right now, Dr.
Yeah,
Lulu.
because that is
No, seriously, that was phenomenal. I mean, we do have some other things to cover, but I love hold space. We should really do better at holding space for each other, and not all skin folk is kin folk. I
we should
actually had
say.
to write that down because I think it's normal. You tend to gravitate to somebody who looks like you, and
Yeah.
you assume they are like you, but
Hmm.
they really aren't.
Yeah.
And it is so easy, Dr. Lulu. It is so easy, and it's not right. I'm just saying it's so easy to judge another person who doesn't
Hmm.
walk like us, talk like us. They're not like us. We don't even try to have a conversation. And I really wanted to be introspective. And you talked about your accent. And I'm thinking, like if I heard your accent, well, first of all, I'm very cautious about asking people stuff about themselves. But for me, I really want to get to know you better. So if I'd heard your accent, I'll say, "Oh, wow. I love your accent.
I
Where are you
love your
from? Tell
accents.
me a little bit about yourself." But that's
Exactly.
because I want to get to know you better. I'm not judging you for your accent. I'm loving your accent. It's not like mine. I'm not saying it should be like mine, but other people think, "Oh, she's not talking like me. I don't want to know her
Mm-hmm.
because
And
she's
remember
not
what I
she's
said to
not
you the
worth
first time.
knowing. She's not
Yeah,
worth
the first
knowing."
time I met you, Gail, the very first time I said, "Oh, I could listen to your accent all day." So the thing about it is because I work in this kind of space, and because, yes, I own my Nigerian accent with my full chest, people almost always point it out. Now, many of them mean well. I have to believe that. They just don't know how to say it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, don't come at anybody by "you have an accent." That is derogatory. That is othering. That is shoving it at me. "You have an accent." No.
Mm-hmm.
What you said was perfect. You said, "I love your accent." Right away, even the energy with which you say, "I love your accent" is inviting. Does that make sense, Gail? It's inviting because the way you say, you cannot say "I love your accent." It doesn't go with with
Yeah.
the yeah. When you say "I love your accent," there's only one way it can come out, and then I'll be like, "Oh, really? Well, thank you." It's a
Right.
natural response versus "you have an accent." Then I'll
Yeah.
be
It's
like, "I do."
accusatory. It's
I
accusatory. Like, why do
absolutely
you
thank
why
you.
do
Yeah.
you have an accent? Why
Yeah,
isn't your accent like
I'm
mine?
like,
Like,
wait.
what does
Don't
that
you have
mean?
an accent? And I'll be like, "Don't you have an accent?" And then I come
Yeah.
at you. "Don't you have an
Yeah, and
accent?"
then what, Dr. Lulu? Then you're being confrontational. I mean,
Yes.
I
Yes.
and then you go down but you started it. You started it. You started it.
Yeah.
Yes, and
And
that's
that
why,
is
and I
why we
love what
thought this
Catherine.
conversation was so
Catherine is
important.
saying this.
Yes.
Catherine, I love what Catherine says. Catherine says everyone tells me I have a New York accent. Let me go
Yeah,
there
what
for a
does
minute
that mean? What does
because
that mean?
exactly because
Like,
I have a New
what?
York accent. The truth is, like we talked about on our very first phone call, only
Mm-hmm.
God that we know for now, that we've never heard God's words. At least I haven't. That I know God's accent. Everybody else has an accent. And your accent is your superpower because
Mm-hmm.
it's based on where you were born, who raised you, who you've been talking with. My children are African Americans for all intents and purposes, but they don't speak like the next African American because they have their mother who's Nigerian, their father who's
Mm-hmm.
Nigerian, right? So we have a say in the final product of their accent. Now, someone else whose parents are from the UK, who was also born here, who is also a Nigerian American, will
Mm-hmm.
also sound differently because their
Different.
parents are from the UK. So I want to
Yep.
say someone from New York, and New York accent is beautiful, but so is
Mm-hmm.
California accent. So is accent from
Mm-hmm.
Arkansas. So is accent from Alabama and from Texas. All of them are beautiful accents. And
Mm-hmm.
just celebrate it like, "Oh my God, I have a Nigerian accent. Where is your accent from?" That's another way to do that. "I have a Nigerian
Yeah.
accent. Where is your accent from?" So that I am already telling you that I am putting me in the conversation. I
Right.
have my best friend is Gail. She's from Barbados. She has a beautiful Barbadian accent. "Are you also from Barbados?" Something like that. They say, "No, I'm actually from Guyana." "Oh, wow. It sounds similar." I don't know if they sound similar. I'm just putting an example.
Right.
How other ways to say that, not "you have an
Yeah.
accent." I just wanted to
Yeah.
put that there.
No, but that's a good valid point because sometimes the way you come up at people, you're gonna get a certain kind of response, right? And the response that you're gonna get, you might not like the response that you're gonna get. So I think this is a valid point when you say is how you frame things is important when you talk to people that have an accent. And I think that that's something people should be mindful about when it comes to asking someone that has an accent. He said, let me see something. Catherine, she
Cats
said,
is too
my
funny.
husband is from Hungary, and when folks tell him he has an accent, he says it's from Brooklyn. They usually look confused and stop
I
talking.
love it. I love it. and that's
I
yeah,
love it. Oh
yeah,
my God. I did that. No, no, for real. I did that when I was in South Carolina. When I was in South Carolina, people would come to me, oh my
Somebody
God,
said a good point.
you have an accent. And I always told them, he was from Brooklyn. I always told them, that's why I was laughing. They're like, it's not from me. I said, how do you know it's from, how do you know it's not from
yeah,
me?
yeah, yeah. And when you
Yeah. I
ask
said,
them
how do you
that,
know?
Dr. Lulu, your face is serious. Is like, yeah, like
I know,
seriously, like
how do you
how do you?
know?
Yeah, yeah. And
That
I
is
think
true.
that's a good way to call people out because sometimes people need to be called out,
Yeah.
because they
You need
come
to be
at
called.
you from the position of I am better than you because my accent is
I'm
Yeah.
better.
better than yours.
Thank
So you
you.
don't want to
Because I
know
was
about
because I
you
was
don't want to
born
know about
here.
me, or you don't want to know about my accent.
Hmm.
You don't want to know anything about me. You know I'm different. You know I'm not like you, but you don't want to know about me because
Yeah.
you think I should be like you. So you can see it in their body language, how they ask the question, how they
Yes.
look at you. You can pick all that stuff up.
No, that's
So it's
true.
it's
I do.
hard, and I mean we haven't touched on that yet, but I find sometimes it's even harder. So immigration is harder normally. I've never had to immigrate. I have family. I'm from the Caribbean. Everybody's family at some point in time they had the feeling that they needed to migrate for a better life, not only for themselves, but it was always for their children. They always
I
thought
saw
for
your
the future, I'm
post.
going to go
Yes.
off and I'm going to bear whatever I need to bear. Then I'm going to either send for my children or I'll send the funds back for your children, right? So a lot of us grew up with grandparents, uncles, aunts, like the extended family as our parents did what they needed to do. And I know it wasn't easy, but the stories we've heard, so it was hard generally.
Hmm.
But I think if you were a female, it was even harder. If you were darker skinned, it was even
Hmm.
harder. And they tell us there were three
That's
things
a lot
that
of people.
that was
Mhm.
so hard for them that you normally had going against you. If you were black, if you were a female, and then God forbid you wanted to start your own business, well, it was the end of the world. So you go to the US, for example, which is supposed to
That's
be the
me.
land of opportunity and milk and honey
Mm.
flowing, and they will embrace you and accept you, and you get there and it's a whole different story.
Lie. It's a
So
whole lie.
talk to me, Dr. Lulu, because how do immigrants get to be seen as relevant, meaningful contributors to society? Because I did some research, and a lot of the US and the UK, to a lesser extent, maybe Canada, they have been built on the lives and contributions of immigrants. They
They
have
have,
contributed to
if
the
only they will
economy,
accept.
the healthcare
Yes.
system, their nurses. I had an uncle
The
that was a bus
doctors.
driver on the transport board in the UK, and I know that was not easy. And we go off and we do all of these menial labor jobs. We are janitors, we are maids, and we have degrees. We would never do that at home, but
At
we think,
home.
what we
Yes.
need to do,
At
what we
home.
need to do, and then you discount my contribution and you're more concerned about my accent and my costume.
Yeah,
And
I know.
I took that costume comment personally because you're right.
Yeah, it's
They want to
rude.
know, they
It's
pretend they want
rude.
to know about your culture, and they're calling it a costume. It's not a costume because
Right.
costume
It's
sounds like
rude.
something from Halloween, and I'm not from Halloween.
Right.
And
Exactly.
I don't even
Exactly.
observe Halloween. So like, what are you telling me? So Dr.
Thank
Lulu,
you.
tell me
You
about
got
that
me hot this
because yeah,
afternoon.
I don't, as I said, I've never been an immigrant. I've never had to live. I've visited lots of places all over the world, but I've never had to live anywhere for an extended period of time. And I figure being, as I say, very well tanned, and I'm a female and an entrepreneur, I'm sure if I had to try to uproot myself right now, it may be a little challenging. So can we talk about that like for 5 minutes? Like,
Hmm.
it seems like there's so much to have to deal with for
Yeah,
a
it is a
better
lot. It's
life,
a
for
lot.
a better
It's a
life.
lot. It's a lot. You're already coming with this mindset as a Nigerian. And I will speak for myself. You're coming from where they say children are not heard, women are seen and not heard. Women believe in the women belong in the kitchen. Women belong in the other room. That was a joke going around in Nigeria because the former president said that. They said, "Sir, where is your wife?" He said, "Oh, she's in the other room. The other room. That she's in the bedroom, basically." So women are relegated to bedroom people, no matter how much height you attain. Oh, you're not married, then you don't count. Oh, you're married, you
Hmm.
have no kids, oh, then you don't count. There's
Hmm.
so much against us already. We're coming with
Yeah.
this big sack of load, and then we come here and oh, you want to start a business, do you? Who do you think you are? You're
How
not
dare
white,
you?
you're not cisgendered, and you're not male. Get the out of here. Like you don't count. Meanwhile, all the doctors that I know are foreign. They are Nigerians, they are Chinese, they are, you know what I mean? Like most doctors in America are not American. Okay, let's just come
Mhm.
out and say it. I'm one of those people, and I know. Okay, now that aside, most of the people that do all built, like you said, the railroad built everything were black folk. But
Mhm.
today, you want to get a loan? No, your loan. Let me tell you, I was trying to get an apartment. I was telling you this, Karen, before we went live.
Mhm.
This one gentleman from Facebook, same thing. He said, "Oh, you want? He has an apartment, so and so, but I have to first apply." And he said, $1,000 down. And I said, "Sir, you and twice on Sundays. Like it's not that serious
Mhm.
because I know you're not going to tell anybody else on Facebook." Before they even see the apartment that they need to apply is $1,000 down. That's not true. But
Mhm.
I know my rights. So sometimes we have to be burned maybe a little bit. Or like they say, smart people learn from their mistakes, but smarter people learn from other people's mistakes. That
Thanks.
look, you don't you're not the only person like we're talking, you're not the only person that has apartments, you're not the only person that has access to apartments. And so therefore, I'm not gonna do it. I told you this morning I was trying to park here. Or wasn't you? I told the other woman, I said, I was trying to park here. The parking lot all of a sudden is $50 today because they have a Braves game and then they have the Pride Parade. $50. On Monday, it was $10. So I said, let me, because I'm a business owner and I own my own business. Every money I spend, I need to make sure where is it coming from? What am I doing with it? I said, well, let me drive around and see if I can find a cheaper parking. The next place I got, the man said, oh, today is Sunday. Parking is free on the street. It was 10 o'clock. All the street parking are open. Now, as a business owner, because I know that my money is not coming from some random foundation that my father, my white father, left for me, I had to think that where am I going to park today that's going to make sense to my pocket? I don't mind if I spend $50 on a pair of shoes. It's because I want the shoes. But I'm
Mhm.
not spending $50 to park because on Monday it was $10. So because I decided to drive to the next street and ask questions, they said, he who asks questions will never get lost. The man said, oh, ma'am, it's Sunday. All the street parking are free on Sundays. This is the businesswoman in me speaking to you. So I can get a loan from my own bank when I was banking with Bank of America because I said, "Oh, you've only been with us for 10 years. Only been with us for 10 years." If my name was Karen, the other Karen, nobody would tell me that after 10 years of banking with them, I cannot get a line of credit for my business. But that's what Bank of America told me. So you can't get a line of credit. If you want to get promoted, you have to sleep with somebody. It's the same thing here, the same thing back home, no difference. Oh, you have an accent. Oh, tell me about your accent. Let me take you out to lunch. They don't want to hear about your business idea.
Mhm.
This is so true. They don't want to hear about your business ideas. Like you're a woman, you have a business idea. Big joke, you know?
Yeah,
Yeah.
But they don't know that I'm the first child. I'm trying to take care of aging parents. This is serious for me.
very.
So, as an
Hmm.
entrepreneur, Black woman, immigrant woman with an accent, I'm here to tell you that it is tough.
Mhm.
But it's not that tough that you cannot withstand it.
Mhm.
Is what do you say to yourself about what they are saying to you?
Hmm.
Because if you internalize what they're saying to you, then you're going to go down the path. You have to be about knowing that it's going to roll off your shoulders. Because as soon as I turned away from the parking lot, here come 25 people that went into the parking lot and paid $50. So it doesn't mean that just because you say no, your worth is less or your worth isn't. No, your worth is what you say your worth is.
Mm.
And so I want to tell anybody who wants to start a business, don't think yourself out of it.
Mhm.
They might not want to leave you alone. That's fine. You have family members. You have a freaking GoFundMe if you have to. Maybe you have to work a little bit longer to save
To
the
save
money for your
money.
business.
Yeah.
There are other ways around. Don't settle, sister. Don't settle.
Hmm.
Don't believe that this is it because one person said no to you. There'll be 25 yeses. You just got to get past the no's. And in the meantime, believe that your idea is valid, your idea is legit. Don't think yourself out of the idea. Don't talk yourself. Look, nobody would have told me I would have been interviewed by Oprah. because everybody around me like, you want to be interviewed by Oprah? Who do you think you are? But I held on to the belief that I'll be interviewed by Oprah, and it happened on September 22nd, September 13, 2022. So the point I'm trying to make is because I have my business, because I believe in my business, that's why I was interviewed by Oprah. So, however, anybody likes, whatever they think about you is irrelevant.
Mm-hmm.
It's what about you. That is what is important. So, anyway,
I
No, I
agree
mean, yeah.
300%. And what I would like to say, Dr. Lulu, sometimes the things that happen to you help you to avoid a bullet. So don't mind the bank.
ah,
Don't mind the bank. Because I saw that, the Catherine was saying, try being a woman who buys her own houses with their own cash. They always thinks it's settlement from their ex-husband. So yeah, but sometimes then when you
yeah.
do have your cash, the first question is, oh, so where did you get it from?
Would you?
Where did you get
It's
it
like,
from? Yes,
hello?
who gave it
So
to you? Yes.
you told me, so the other person brings 10,000. You tell me I have to bring 30 because you're concerned. I bring the 30 and then like, so
You
where
want
did
to
you get it from?
question where it
It's
comes
like,
Oh,
from?
yes.
so, I want to say it looks as though you can never win, but
Yes.
sometimes your struggle helps you avoid the bullets of getting into bed with the wrong person.
Yes.
You
Amen.
don't want to get
Amen.
into bed with the wrong person, no matter who that person is. You may think that is the person, but really and truly, you want somebody who's going to respect you for who you are and all that you bring to the table. What do you bring to the table? You bring you're a whole person. You bring your culture, you bring
Yes.
your accent, you bring your skin color. And I don't know why skin color is always so important. And how you look. You may not have the long, straight blonde hair, but that doesn't mean you're dumb. Well,
Oh, well.
that's a wrong analogy because people say blondes don't have a lot of brains. But let's use brunette and another color.
Yeah.
My hair and my skin color does not have anything to do with my brains and what I bring to your
Mm-hmm.
table. And
As a
the
woman, as a
contribution, yeah,
woman.
and as a woman, and the
And you know what?
contribution I
You know
bring
what,
to your
Gail?
table, it really doesn't.
But Sister Gail,
And
that
my
whole
African
analogy,
and my African costume, sorry to call it costume, your African outfit is who you
outfits, yes.
are. It has nothing to do
Yes.
with my I don't understand. It's like
Just so
crazy.
you know, they don't call the Indian outfit a costume. It's the African outfit that they call a costume. I'm telling you right now. Oh, you have a beautiful, nice outfit. Where can I get it? For the Indians. Oh, your costume is so nice for the Africans. I'm telling you, it's all internalized racism. It's all hidden
Mm-hmm.
racism.
It's all, yeah.
But that aside, Gil, there's something so beautiful that you just said just now. Ultimately, whether they describe Karen blonde or what, we don't have blonde hair where we come from. So that joke, that analogy was not originally African. I don't know where the whole I don't know where it came from, if that makes sense, right? So thank God that I don't know where it come from. But the second part is, it's still a woman that is being ridiculed. It's
Mm-hmm.
still a woman. Even I've said Karen twice. That's a woman. And ideally, women should come together and not propagate that, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Even I have made a mistake too because I've said Karen twice. But that's a woman that I'm referring to, if that makes any sense. So thank you for bringing that point up. Because whether they say blonde is dumb, they don't talk about a dumb blonde man. Never.
Mhm.
About the woman.
Does that make sense?
It does make sense,
It
and
does
you made
make
such a
sense.
good point
That's a good
because
point.
I find sometimes one of the other big things for me that business people overlook when they're having a conversation with a female entrepreneur is that women tend to be able to multitask better than males.
That's a lie.
We have to raise our families, but it's so much harder to we bear the children, raise the children, run a business. That
That's a
means
whole lie, sis.
for me, it's like, okay, well, she can do all these things. I want to work with
She
her rather
can't.
than somebody else.
Yes. She can't, and that's why women hide their pregnancies when they're doing a job interview. Women hide that they. I mean, we hide. Do you know that if you go for an interview, I didn't know this. If you tell them that you're pregnant, you might not get the job. I did not even
Correct.
know this
Correct.
because yeah.
Yeah,
So, but
Dr.
I
Lulu,
want to
because
say to
then
you,
you're gonna be sick a lot on the job.
yes,
You're gonna have to take time off from work. Then I'm gonna have to
yes,
give you
exactly,
maternity leave. Then you're gonna have to
yes,
leave early to drop off your kids or pick them up. Then when your
yes.
children are sick, you're not gonna be able to come in. Dr. Lulu, been there and
And
done
that's why
that.
I said that. That's why I said to you that what you were saying to me earlier on, that we multitask, we're effective at multitasking. I want people to, I want to end that mindset. Women are not more effective than men are multitasking because men can multitask as much as everybody brain has the capability to multitask, but they wanted to put it on women as the multitasker. No. And then all this idea of black don't crack, that's a big old fat lie because we have emotions too. We crack too. Were we allowed to show that we can crack? That's another question.
Right. We
So
just
we
not allowed.
crack
We don't
all
have to
day.
speak.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're not
Mhm.
allowed. They didn't give us, there's a doctor called Dr. Marion Sims. They call him the father of obstetrics and gynecology. I don't know who calls him, but that's what they call him. Do you know what Marion Sims did?
I heard
Marion
about.
Sims did
Mhm.
surgeries on women, C-sections on women without anesthesia. Can you guess the color of the women that he did all these
Mhm.
things without anesthesia? Exactly.
Exactly. Hmm. I heard
Exactly.
read
Know
about
that we
that.
don't feel any pain. That's bullshit. We feel pain. Don't nobody tell you that you don't feel pain. And don't accept it from them. Don't accept that you can multitask. Everybody has a brain that can multitask. Everybody's brain can multitask.
Ooh.
That's all I have to
Yeah.
say.
Can I, so
No.
Dr. Lulu, we're going to get off at this point, but I have a question on the multitasking. Should it then be that we can keep it together better than males rather than the multitasking? How do we get that
Honestly,
done? How do we
as a
keep it
mother of,
together better?
I don't know if there's any betterness. The reason I'm saying this is, and I know where you're going from, and I agree with you, but I don't want to say that because I know that it is used to punish us in the end. It is used to that mind that line that sentence ultimately is used to punish us, and therefore women, as you and I may or may not know, have the higher rate of completed suicides. We have the higher rate today of completing our suicides. Female physicians, let me speak for my people, have the higher rate of completed suicide. In the past, it used to be men, but now women have even perfected that. I say that with all the gentleness in my heart because I want to show that overwhelm is what multitasking brings. And the studies have shown that when people think that they can multitask, if I'm talking to you and I take my mind off of you and I look at my email, it takes me 25 more minutes, I think, to finally come back fully to this task, this one. So you cannot truly effectively multitask. But I hear you because I used to think that. But when I looked into it, we found out that you cannot fully effectively. But we've been like we've been talking about, we've been socialized to believe that we can. We can do everything. In the end, we suffer because we forget to take care of ourselves because we're so busy. They say we incinerate ourselves to warm up everybody else. We give out all our heat to everybody else, and then we freeze to death, and then nobody gives us a jacket. So I want to help change the mindset that yes, I know you can do it, sisters. I know you can, but I want you to not do it because your life is more precious to me than all the tasks that you can accomplish, if that makes any sense. But Sister Gail, I
No,
didn't mean
it
to.
really,
I just meant to
yeah,
share.
no, it really makes
I
sense.
want.
And I like what you say that they hold it against us.
They
Because
hold it against us.
you know what happens?
You should be able to do that. You
We
should
do.
be able to. You
Yes,
should.
yes. I'm gonna
You
say
tell us that.
they
Yeah.
Yeah.
try to make it because, as you're saying, we were socialized to think we can do it all. But then it's like you're being set
Yeah.
up for failure. You cannot do it all. So when something falls between the cracks, it's like, oh, told you you couldn't do it. And then what do?
Thank you.
We do try to do it
We're
all.
stuck between
And
a
then
rock
as an
and a hard
immigrant,
place.
you have to do it twice as better as everybody else. So I
Oh,
quite understand
that's a word.
what you're saying. It can be held against us, and you can't do it all. They make you think you can, but you really can't. Sorry, Karen, you
No,
wanted to
but I
finish.
mean, I was just that's a good. I never really thought about it like that, but that's a good point, and it also speaks to the propaganda, right? Throwing everything on women to do, like,
Yeah,
well, you could do
yeah,
this
Mhm.
10, 5, you could do 10 things, but really you're
yeah,
not able to, and
yeah,
then it comes back to us being able to say that we need the assistance, able to speak up for ourselves as well.
And then nobody
So
listens. And then when you ask for help, they don't listen. They don't listen to you because you're asking for help. Let me tell you,
it's a
just a simple
cycle.
example. I know we have to go. A simple example. During my first marriage, my first wedding, the only, the only task that was assigned to my ex-husband, rest in peace. The only task was to get his groomsmen. They had to get a gold colored vest for their black tuxedo because my bridesmaids were wearing a gold dress. So I went with him. We picked the gold colored gold thing. We picked it, the exact match for the girls' dresses. All the girls bought their dresses. I did the flowers. I helped with the cake. I did, I picked the cake and all the things that I did to get ready for the wedding. The only thing he was tasked to do was to get the groomsmen together and get the gold vest. My ex-husband procrastinated and procrastinated and procrastinated until 2 weeks to the wedding. When they went there, what do you think they told them? There was
They
no
have
more
it.
gold
Mhm.
thing. So we had to now use a different gold. The men had to wear something totally different. This is an example of how we women, we cook, we clean, we did it, we did it, and the father is just to go to work and come back and eat. And so when the child gets sick, you. When the child is you to teach this, you to cook the food, you to go, and then you ask them to do one thing, and even that one thing they can barely deliver. So, but I also think that we have been raising them to believe that we can do all these things. If I get married again, we're going to split it in the middle. You do some,
Mhm.
I do some, or we do it together because of that singular incident. We ended up wearing, if you see my wedding pictures anywhere, hopefully you won't, but if you see them, you will see that the girls are wearing a different color and then the men are wearing black and gold because they couldn't find gold because we found it, but he did not take them to go and measure or whatever. I
Mhm.
mean, this is just like we need to stop encouraging them to believe that they cannot do, because when it comes to you and I, for the things that matter, like getting a loan for our business idea, they will either change it to make it look like it was their idea, or they won't even give you the loan at all. Why?
Yeah.
Why am I good to do all these, but when it's time to get a loan to do something else, then I can't? You know what I mean?
Okay.
Like, why that double standard? Ladies, we'll
Yeah.
never finish the comment. Like,
Yeah, I know. This comes.
Yeah, let's
This
close
is like
out.
the
Let's close out,
no.
ladies.
That's so
So
no, but
let's close
really,
out. So the last question we're going to close out on that I want both yourself and Karen to answer, Dr. Lulu, is this: What? How can we support immigrants better? Like what can we do when we know there's an immigrant coming, maybe to our company, to our community? Like we know they're different and we want to accept their differences. Like what can we do? What's your advice to anybody to make an immigrant feel more included, more a part of the space that they're coming into, and most probably bring in their family? Karen, we can start with that because I can see Dr. Lulu's thinking.
I would say be welcoming, right? Meaning being open to ask questions if the person, of course, as comfortable as the person feels, right? But definitely be open to asking questions, open to trying to be, hey, where you from? And if you, especially if they're coming into a new company, maybe integrate them into the company, show them where everything is at, right? So that's difficult coming into a new company and you don't know anybody. I know from my experience, yeah, I had jobs where I didn't know anybody. I didn't know the process and nobody hold my hand. I had to figure it out on my own. So it'd be great to have somebody that just come in there and welcome you to the company, show you where everything is at. And if you have any questions and something that you could do, hey, if you have any
Mhm.
questions, come to me. Let me know. If I know how to do it, I'll show you how to do it. And if I don't, then we'll figure it out. Who knows how to do this? You
yeah,
know. So I
yeah,
say one thing is being welcoming to the person,
yeah,
open to
Yeah.
understand. Be empathize with the person because
And be genuine.
yeah,
yeah,
exactly. Be genuine because we don't know
yeah,
what's the reason, and it's none of our business. Please,
yeah,
people, it's none of your
yeah.
business why
Not
somebody
yeah,
came here. It's not
yeah,
to ask like, "Hey, what you here, girl?" Like to be in their
yeah,
business. No, it's not to
yeah,
be inquisitive. It's more to be put it in a place of understanding and making them feel like they're part of a culture and part. Eventually, the more you do it, the more they feel more comfortable. But
yeah.
it's the first step should be welcoming.
Yeah,
Um,
Yeah.
I think
I
for me,
agree.
my what I would say is honestly give the person my number. I just because when I was younger, and that's what I was thinking about. I was trying to count all the people. There was a time when I first, in the not too distant past, everybody that came here would call me because I know everybody else because I made it my business to know what everybody else is doing and where everybody else is. I would say give them my number. But I think on a more, that's on practical notes, but I think on a less practical note, I will tell them stories. Stories really is the way, I don't know how many stories a day just in this conversation. Stories, we are connected by storylines because
Mm-hmm.
everybody's story is so different. I want them to tell me their story and I'll tell them my
Mm-hmm.
story. And then we'll find that no matter what, in the end, we are connected because our stories might have different characters, but like Whitney Houston said, it's the same script, it's just different cast. So
Mm-hmm.
I'll tell stories and I'll let them tell me their story and then I'll see how our stories can intertwine because everybody will need something different. Every
Right.
immigrant needs something. I'm a physician at the border in Texas. I cover 9 locations at the border. Every single patient that comes through the border is a different human being. They all have a different story. They're all human. So if anything else, look the person in the eye and just ask the most important question of all. How can I help you? 5 words.
Mhm.
And that
Mm-hmm.
is kindness personified. That's compassion personified. How can I help you? How can I help you? Disarms everything. It means, oh my God, um, I don't even know how you can help me, but thank you so much for saying that. You know what? Yeah, I need help with my boxes. Whatever, I don't know. So, how can I help you? 5 words. That is a definition of compassion. And I say that because everybody talks about Brene Brown because of empathy, empathy, empathy. Well, fuck empathy and twice on Sundays. Compassion is mentioned 32 times in the Bible,
Mm-hmm.
and empathy is not, because compassion means, where empathy means I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Compassion means I see you, I hear you, I feel you. How can I help? How can I help? If you cannot help me, you just, oh girl, I see you. Mm-mm.
Mhm.
Mm-hmm.
How can you make a difference? How can you serve? Which is what we're called to do with each
Mm-hmm.
other, for each other, right? Yeah. So anyway,
That's they have it,
how
That's
can I
a
folks.
help
perfect note to end on.
Yeah.
Lulu, do you have anything you want to offer our audience? Is there any special, anything you want to have for us? Do they just go over to your website, Karen?
I think what I want to do is the people who I see 2 people mainly. So I want you, Karen or Gail, to pick one of them, or maybe we'll give both of them a book because I only see 2 of them. So
Yes,
we'll just do
I
that. We'll
think
give
both
both
are
of
All
them a
right,
both are
book.
great.
ladies. There
So I
you
have
have it.
my immigrant women book. Yeah, they can have that. So I'll send them when I get back to base, which is the week after
Okay.
next.
Great.
The week after this, next week, I'll be back to base, and then
Yes.
I can figure out just who are they, and let me
Yeah.
know, and
Oh,
then
yeah.
send them a
Connect,
copy of
ladies. Catherine
photograph
and
copy
Kat.
of
Yeah.
my
Connect with Dr. Lulu. Send her a friend a connection request. Connect with her. If anybody else who's not seen on the chat, right? Because sometimes people will show up, but they're not really seeing the
Yeah,
chat,
and most people will watch the replay,
right?
yes. But for the
So
2 people that I see, Kat and Catherine, 2 Ks, 2 cats, one cat, one Catherine. Both of you get a copy of my immigrant anthology by 22 immigrant women. It's called The Warrior Women Project. That's a book that we wrote that was sold out of Amazon in 4 hours and out of Barnes and Nobles in nine
mm,
hours. So that was a great book. So yeah, you're welcome.
yes. So
You're
thank
welcome.
you. I mean, any other takeaways for today before we close? I know you have to go, Dr. Lulu. So thank a little over
Do
there.
not,
Respect
do
it.
not other me, Karen. My biggest takeaway: do not other me, and not all skin folk is skin folk.
All
I
right.
have those 2 things written down. I mean, we learned so much from you, Dr.
I
Lulu.
know.
Today's
And I think, how can I
conversation,
help
yeah, and
you?
how can I help you? But I
How
really
can I
mean
help
it.
you is critical.
Really mean it. How can I help you? Not how can I get in your
And
business.
I'm just seeing Candace
Greenwich,
Greenidge. I
yes,
didn't see them
Yes,
Candice,
earlier on.
beautiful
Yeah,
too.
sorry about that. But it's Kat and Catherine. Sorry,
yeah.
yeah, those 2.
Yeah.
Sorry, I just saw the 2 of
Yeah.
them.
But how about you? Any takeaways before we close, Dr. Lulu?
For me, I think Candice can get a copy
I
of
was
the
just
book
gonna
if you
ask. Yes,
like. Andrea can get a copy of the book. All of y'all, go get the copy of the book. The book is actually dedicated to the girl child. It is dedicated to the girl child who dreams of travel to other lands. And I think we should all be allowed to dream
Mm-hmm.
to dream to travel in our minds, to dream to travel in person, to dream, to dare to dream. Don't let anybody take your dreams away from you. Your dream is really, truly the only thing that is yours. But here's the thing, as much as you want to dream, 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 when you wake up in the morning, I need you to chase your dreams
Yes.
until you
Yep.
catch them, because it's not enough to just dream.
Right.
All right.
Exactly. Exactly. Go use the
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Thank you.
yeah,
You
right.
use the F word.
I like listen, Dr. Lulu's real, okay? She's straight, I mean, straight shooter, as I can tell. So thank you for today, Dr. Lulu. I hope you guys learned a lot. I hope this conversation was rich for everybody that's watching in the replay. And put in your comments. What's your biggest takeaway from today's conversation? I would love to hear you guys speak. And if you want to share your experience, do so as well. Okay, because I think being migrating from one place to the next is not easy for anyone, and I think that when you do decide to go wherever you decide to go, understand that it's going to be challenges.
Yeah.
Okay, everybody's not going to be welcoming, because that's reality, but you have to have self perseverance and you have to believe in yourself. Okay, bye
Okay, bye
guys.
guys.
Thank
Happy Sunday.
you. Wait, man out there, Gail. Man out there, man out there. All right, guys, take care. Bye.